Hi everyone, it's Ardith, and today I'm excited to be celebrating not only Pretty Pink Posh's newest release, but also their 6th birthday. I was playing with this adorable new set, Party Friends, and I created a card with the lion in the gift box. I put him on a wobbler for some interactivity. I was thinking about color, and almost as a second thought, I added some dots to the gift box to add color to it without making it too dark. And then I started thinking about how easy it is to alter your stamped images, to customize them and get more out of your stamps. The first way, obviously, was to add some additional lines to the image. Now, I'm no drawing expert, but adding some dots is clearly not rocket science, right? Let me show you how. First, I stamped the image as I usually would. I used my MISTI to double stamp to get crisp dark lines, and I used a Copic-friendly ink. The ink you use will depend on the color medium you're using, so be sure to make sure you think about that if you're going to do this. To add the lines, I used a Copic multiliner. They're Copic friendly and they come in a variety of widths, and that is more important than you might think. To make your additions look like they're part of the design, you don't want your lines to be visibly thinner or thicker than the line weight of the original drawing. I grabbed 4 that I have on hand, and I quickly just drew lines so that I could choose what I thought was best. And actually, I think I ended up choosing one that was too thick, but more on that in a second. Next, I just started drawing in little circles. Because these stamps are so whimsical in feeling, I didn't worry about keeping the circles the same size or in a perfectly regular pattern. I just spread them around the areas of the gift box that I wanted the dots on. I did make sure to have some of them look like they were wrapping around the box. I think this gives it a more, realistic look. I know it's an illustration and not realistic, but I think you know what I mean by that. Of course, you could use any pattern that you like. Maybe you find stripes easier or little stars. And going back to what I was saying about line weight, and this is also true about the perfection or lack thereof of your pattern, whatever you choose. Once you color it, it looks better. Here's my card again, and if you look closely, you'll see that those dots are not perfect. But of course, I'm not going to tell the recipient that. It's our little secret. I did change to a narrower tip for the rest of my work. The background of this card was made with one of the birthday borders stamps. It's a row of presents that I stamped, then masked, and then I moved it and stamped it again, and then I masked just the ends and I stamped a few more before I colored them all in with similar colors to my lion's box. I left a lot of the areas white so that it didn't start to feel too heavy. I also used the banner stencil in the layered birthday stencils set to create a banner over top. And finally, I used the Scallop square frame die that's available exclusively in the Pretty Pink Posh shop to add some definition and contrast to my little party scene. And of course, the wobbler. So that's my simplest example. We're going to work our way up to the most complex by the end of my video. The next one is also simple. This little fox is holding a blank sign. Let's just call it what it is, a blank canvas. Of course, I can stamp one of the sentiments in it that came with the set, but I'm also thinking that the sign is the shape of a present. So why not? In fact, I like this idea so much I did it 4 times. This time, though, I'm going to need to draw a bow. That's a little more complicated than dots, I know. But you don't have to be a hero. There are multiple examples of bows for presents right on that border stamp I just used. I'll just copy one of them. I keep the example right next to me, and I simply copy the shapes and lines onto my present. You could use a pencil at first so that you can erase and redraw any lines you're not happy with if you want. There. Now I'll just add some ribbon, and this one's done. Here are the 4 examples I made. Each present has a different pattern and a different bow. 3 of them I copied from the present stamp, and one of them I completely freehanded, and it really doesn't look like a bow. But you didn't notice that until I told you, did you? Coloring really helps to cover up a lot of the amateur look. I added some balloons with the other stencil from the layered birthday stencil set, and also that same scallop square frame. And these guys are ready for a party. You could even leave one with a sign and the other 3 with presents if you wanted. That's definitely the perfect place for a sentiment. So one of the things to notice about these 2 alterations is that all my drawing was done within the original drawing. They both still fit into their dies if you want to die cut them as I did for their cards. The next examples are a little more out of the lines, so to speak. This next one is my favorite. I love these two little mice. Again, they're holding a sign, but I'm going to turn it into a big present. But this time I'm going to put the bow on top, not on the front. Again, I chose one of the simple bows on the present border stamp to copy. This time I'm going to have to watch out for those mouse noses because they're going to end up being in front of the edges of the bow. And again, you could use a pencil to be sure you're happy with your lines before you draw them in with the Copic multiliner. Those Micron pens will also work here. I'm sure there's others, but those are the two brands that I have in my craft room. I added the wraparound ribbons to the front of the box and then also added some dots in the exact same way as my first card. Okay, are you ready for the next one? This one involves both drawing to add in details and masking to remove one big detail. And by one big detail, I mean the koala. Masking really is no big deal, especially with this cake image because the cake has a straight line on top. It's easy to mask out the koala with some Post-it tape and ink up the rest of the stamp as normal with the black ink. There are two ways you can go wrong here. One is to mask too much, in which case you just draw back in the top line of the cake, and the other is to mask too little, and you may get tiny bits of the edges of the koala popping up out of the cake, but that's also no problem. Just start your candles there. Yes, once I masked out the koalas, I added in 3 candles. Again, I looked for an example, and of course I found several right on the image. This gave me a template to follow for width, height, and also how the wick and flames were drawn. And here's a little tip for coloring the flames so they look like they're glowing. I use a deep yellow to color in the flame, and then I use a lighter yellow, and I press down on the nib so that it colors outside those lines. See how effective that little trick is? Now, just to quickly show you what you already know, I cannot cut these guys out with their coordinating dies. So you're stuck with either fussy cutting, a combination of partial die cutting with fussy cutting, or the easiest solution, just don't cut them out at all, like I did on my cards. I hope you enjoyed this video. This really is an easy way to have some fun and get more out of your supplies. Now, I don't think that Paulina needs to worry about me taking over the illustration department at Pretty Pink Posh, but already, just after a few cards, I feel more confident about my ability to add simple shapes to customize my stamped images. I have a link in the description below to my blog where you'll find all the information for our 3-day birthday blog hop celebration. Be sure to check it out so you know how to have a chance to win a gift certificate. If you enjoyed this video and want more inspiration, be sure to give it a thumbs up below and hit the subscribe button so you won't miss out. Supplies are listed below in the description and also over on my blog. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.